Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time zone. Our broadcast this morning is all about presidential candidate of Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi. He has a deal with all PDP governors. So we are waiting to hear the outcome of the deal. Please stay tuned and watch the video. Make sure you share it. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and put on the notification bell so that each time we post a new video, you will be notified. Watch the video and we'll be right back. Bye.
And the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, says he now has a deal with 5 PDP governors. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbalo in Abuja. Let's begin tonight's program by letting you know that more information are coming from the federal government on the security situation in the country. The Minister of Defense, General Bashir Magashi, today said there was no smoke without fire after the US and the UK and several other Western nations raised a terror alarm in Abuja. The minister says the nation's armed forces have the situation under control. It was reiterating the federal government's position on the matter. It was at the National Assembly today at the defense of the budget of the Defense Ministry.
I think what we need is prayers from the United States not giving us information that will make our citizens either confused or not be able to take appropriate action. And our Minister of Foreign Affairs is taking that up to ensure that information of such nature are brought to the notice of the ministry before disseminating it to other into the society. I think we are on top of the situation. The threat is not very real, but we are not taking it kindly. We are doing all we can to ensure that the peace and progress of Nigeria is maintained.
Why, that's the Minister of Defense, General Bashir Magashi. Tonight, our conversation will be part of what is on your mind, especially now you're thinking, who out of the 18 presidential candidates, who should I choose? Who should I vote for? You might be from the north and you might be considering someone from your region. If you are from the south and you're considering someone from the region, or if you are one of those who think that I don't care where the person is coming from, I care about the issues and the capacity of the person who is willing to lead, wherever, no matter where he or she comes from. Well, there's several debates as to the choice of the next president of the country. But tonight, there is another presidential candidate that has put forward his manifesto. It's in the form of a book, which means that there is some thinking behind what he said he's going to do for Nigeria. Himself and his party have put that forward. Now, Nigeria needs a well-researched and practical master plan to get the most populous African nation on track in fulfilling the vision of our founding fathers. And the different political parties are already putting forward their plans. Today, it was a turn of the presidential candidate of the new Nigeria's People's Party. I'd like you to listen to Senator Obi Exposed on some of his ideas. Well, we couldn't capture all of what he said at that unveiling, but this was one of the things that he mentioned. This was specifically on the issue of fuel subsidy, and he said he's on the sideline just after the event ended when our reporter caught up with him outside the venue of the meeting. Take a listen to what Obi Exposed said on the issue of fuel subsidy.
It's very important that we look at the subsidy. The way we have it on the ground today is not going to be acceptable. We have a lot of corruption, everybody knows. And these are things that we have to check. We have to ensure value for money. And I can assure you that a lot of money, billions of dollars, are being wasted in the area of corruption. I believe that's the first place of point. And of course, all other areas of reform will come in regarding the subsidy in this country.
That is Senator Robbie Kwankunso, the presidential candidate of the NNPP. Well, a few issues have been raised in the blueprint released by the NNPP today. Well, I have joining me live here in our Abuja studio the national chairman of the NNPP, Professor Rufai Alakali. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sion. It's a long time we have not seen.
It's been a while. It's been a while. But it's good to see you.
Oh, you're wonderful.
Although the last time I saw you, you were not in NNPP.
Yes.
The last time I spoke with you on this program.
Yes, a day is long in politics.
It is actually.
Yes, yeah. A day is very long.
Now, yesterday you did not have a manifesto, but today you have one.
Yes.
And it's in form of a book.
Absolutely.
It's about how many? 150-something pages now.
Pages.
And this is what you think that with this, Nigeria will be what? What exactly do you plan with this document?
Well, thank you very much. I think for a long time, Nigerians have been waiting for this day, because there has been this insinuation that the NNPP is not serious about the 2023 elections. And there are all kinds of insinuations about our candidate and the way we do our things. But we kept assuring Nigerians that, look, we are not approaching Nigerian for 2023 with the same approach with the old guard. There's a new thinking, and there's a new way of doing things. And therefore, whatever we want to do now, we have to be more calculative, more thoughtful, more organized. And so far, you can see, it took time to produce this document. And today, it has been brought to the Nigerian public. And it's addressed to Nigerians specifically about their fears and concerns and the specific interests as we move to 2023 elections. And as the presidential candidate says, Senator Rabi Musa Kongazo, the document itself is organic, is integrated, is thorough, and is original. And that it is, and he has also told the people who are in attendance at the launching that he was the chairman of the committee. So it is not a document that has been produced by consultants, and who are paid off and then imposed on the candidate without his knowledge. Every part of this, every page, every sentence, he was part of it, and going through it and doing everything, so that it is, and now, along with the party, it is owned by the party, and now it's also now owned by the rest of the country. And that is a statement, what we say is a social contract with Nigerians.
Now, one thing that comes out if you look at this document, I've read a few pages. It just came out today, so I've not been able to dissect every part of it. But a few issues are enough for us to have this conversation tonight. I know a lot of people are already perusing and trying to bring out the genuine, how genuine or not this document is. First and foremost, one of the things that you first open when you open the page is the quote from a former U.S. president, which says, Jeff Kennedy, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And if you look at it, one of the major message that Senator Kwankunso has put forward is that the choice before Nigerians is that of a new and better Nigeria or that of status quo. A lot of people will argue that he was part of the status quo. Or he's part of the status quo. He's been part of the APC. He's been part of the PDP. And your party is conversing for a new Nigeria. Are you telling Nigerians the truth? What kind of new Nigeria are you bringing? Are there new people in your political party that is so different from the Nigerians that we have seen in the past? Or what exactly do you mean by new Nigeria?
Well, so, for example, what I want to tell you is that let's be frank to ourselves. This is Nigeria, and it's owned by Nigerians, and it must be run by Nigerians. We are not going to bring any Chinese, any American, any Indian, or Pakistani to run this country. Now, Even myself, I've been involved in the PDP for a long time. I've been part of it. We did a lot for the party. Now, of course, he was also part of the PDP. But yet, you have to know, in organization, there's what we call dynamics of organizations. Even while you're inside an organization, there are various tendencies. And some of the tendencies are not people-oriented. They are more concerned about themselves, and they are, what do you call it, their own basic needs. Therefore, they don't concentrate on addressing the people in this country to share their concern, to address their concern. And I think that's why he left the party. And remember, as a former governor, as a former senator, as a former minister, leaving the party he belonged to must be a difficult decision. I also was in PDP, later moved to SDP, but last year, in January, I said I'm done with it. So, and there are so many other people who are now in NMPP who have moved on. So what we are saying here is that, yes, this is a new beginning. Okay, and we believe tenaciously that the path we have been taking in those political parties, frankly, will not solve the Nigerian problems. And in any case, what is happening is that when you have a problem and you are using the same methods repeatedly, getting the same results, how can you solve the problem? And therefore, that's why way back last year, he started a movement. And the way he started was that, look, there was a lot of crisis in the country. Many people are causing trouble here and there. In some section of the country, you find people forming new organization that they want to separate from the country. Some of them going to even print currencies, fly flags, even create militias, even go to some of these some funny international associations and say they are now registered as sovereign nations. Look, you can't divide this country in this form on the table, and everybody go. Every division of country always lead to wars and bitterness and killings and destruction. And Nigeria is too special, too important to go that path. That's why he felt that he should invite his colleagues and friends. Let's start. About the future of our country. Ultimately, we ended up with the new Nigeria People's Party, a party that registered over 22 years ago, under the leadership of Chief Boniface Aniobunam, a gentleman, a nationalist who believed in this country. He told us that this party he set up was from a dream, that there's sometime somewhere people are going to emerge and come and take this party and expand it and grow it so that they can now bring something better for the future of this country. Honestly, by the time Senator Rabi Musa was approaching him, he said, please take the party. And then without any conditions or conditionality, we started building the party from 1st March to 30th of March. And that is when he had the national convention to produce the national leadership of the party. And from then on, Siyun, no party in this country has ever done it in 7 months, to build a party to this position in less than 7 months. And we went through all the primaries, all the congresses.
Prof,
today, yes.
What I was trying to ask you is, first and foremost, people need to believe in the characters and the people that are driving the party in which you are put forward. And one of the major things, because I've not even delved into the highlights of the promises that they have made to Nigerians here. But if you have said that Nigerians should be ready to have a choice between the status quo, which is the old order, or the present order, the status quo, and a better and new Nigeria.
Absolutely.
So the question is, I was asking you to be able to tell Nigerians why the NNPP is a choice for them. And what is different between the NNPP and the old order, which you belong, which your principal and presidential candidate also belong.
Which we belong, which we abandon, sir. If we belong, we don't have to have any.
So why are you different?
No, we are different because, sir, look.
Because your candidate was a minister under the old order.
Yes.
Was a governor under the old order.
Absolutely.
He was a senator, or he's a senator under the old order.
Yes.
So the question is, what makes him now different? What kind of new Nigeria? Because a lot of Nigerians are actually looking for a new order in the area of education, in the health sector, in the oil and gas sector. They don't want queues on the road. They want a single-digit inflation. They want a single-digit everything that has gone 2-digit and gone awry in our national life. So the question is, why is or how is the NNPP different from the order that you are presenting?
Fine. So what you are saying here is that since we are focusing now primarily on our presidential candidate, let's go back to history. Yes, he was part of the PDP, he was part of the APC, but look at what he has done when he had the opportunity to be a governor in Kano State, the largest state in the country with over up to 44 local governments. This man, throughout his period, he was able to leave what you call lasting legacies in terms of focusing attention on the specific issues that concern the ordinary citizen in Kano, especially issue of education, social welfare, transportation, security. And throughout this period, so Rabi Musa Konkoso was also concerned not only about the people in Kano, but any other person staying in Kano. So you don't have to be a citizen of Kano to benefit from anything concerning education or social welfare. Whoever is a resident is there and willing to assist. So what we are saying here is that the narrative is very long, but there are about 3 things you can use to measure a leader in this country today. One, when he was the governor of Kano State, he made some debts in the state. But within a short while, he cleared the debts. But after the 4 years, when he served, he never left a single penny as debt for the state. After he came back 8 years later, again he made a huge debt. He cleared it. Again, he did not leave any debt after he served for the 2nd term. This is what we can call transparency and accountability and the proper management of scarce resources. Secondly, throughout his period, every Wednesday, they conduct the State Executive Council meetings. Every Wednesday. And even after the meeting, he will make sure that the proceedings, including the resolution and approval of contract, were published in new Nigerian newspapers for anybody who wishes to go and see what was happening in the state. So you don't even have to go and maybe look for any freedom of information bill to look for any asset to information. The information there is in the... Now, the other thing also, not only that he did not leave debt, and he also left money in the account of the state government after he left for the 2nd time. So what we are saying here is that, how did he manage all these things? For example, he said there is no room for security votes throughout his period.
He didn't collect security votes?
He didn't collect security vote.
What did he use it
Whatever the case that is, he put all this together to build bridges and build roads and build other social infrastructure.
So you think that your candidate is better than the 17 others?
I
mean, there are a few other former governors, and the question is, people are asking for track records, and you're talking about him.
Yes.
If I look into the master plan that you released today,
absolutely, yes,
and let's take the issue of education, for example. There's something that came out today, part of what
very good.
Senator Obi
Very good for Nigerians, yes.
He said, WAEC and JAMB are going to be free.
Yes.
If I look at it, the figures show that about 1.761 million Nigerians wrote JAMB in 2022.
Yes.
About 1.22 million Nigerians wrote WAEC in 2022.
Yes.
The cost of JAMB form, not to talk of the scratch card, is about 4,700 from my findings. Now, if you look at it, for JAMB, just about 10 billion. What is the rationale behind wanting people to have free WAEC, not just for campaign reason? Is there any reason? What effect will it have on the quality of education?
Yes. First, one of the things you should know still today is that many children, both male and female, a number of them will go to primary school, will go to secondary school. At the point of sitting for WAEC or NECO exams, their parents may not be having the money to pay for these fees. And these fees are always be increasing on daily basis. Therefore, what is happening is that there are many children out there in the rural communities that cannot afford, even in the cities now, there are many parents that cannot afford to pay the jam fees, the NECO fees, the NAPTIL fees, and even the YC.
So the reason I ask, Prof,
yes.
I mean, you've been in the academia.
Thank you very much.
And I'm asking you this question because, and I have a feeling that you had some part of your schooling to abroad.
Absolutely.
So if you had your training abroad, tertiary education, I know, is not cheap. It doesn't come cheap.
No.
But the question here is, Nigeria, and your candidate talked about subsidy. You are going to subsidize part of education.
Absolutely, yes.
Can Nigeria afford it? Are you going to be able to isolate those who cannot, who do not have, and those who have, such that you can be able to focus on subsidizing or paying for those who do not have?
I think the point, let's understand. First and foremost, the way we have casted this document, and he has presented it, he said he is treating education as a public good. It is not there for people to use the opportunity of their offices to exploit, the ordinary citizen who is wishing just to get the basic education. Today, even first degree is becoming a basic education now. So what he said that all the obstacles have to be removed.
Is there any place in the world where the entrance examination into tertiary education or final secondary school examinations are free?
The point is that Nigeria,
can we afford it? Do we have the wherewithal? There is a cry, the hue and cry about the fact that Nigeria does not have enough money. We have problems of revenue.
No, I think you are right somehow, but you are not correct somehow, Tsin. I think the issue here is that there is what you call mismanagement of resources and lack of priorities. There are certain things that are done that ordinarily should not be done, okay? But government must establish its own priority. So if this government says this is on its priority, they will put all the effort there so that you mop every resources that are wasted somewhere and make sure that you target on the education sector so that you can also accelerate the development and expansion of access for the ordinary citizen in the country. That is why he's also saying that, like the jam results, that now is when you pass the exam, and then maybe you have gotten maybe 240, 250, 270, but you want to do either medicine or pharmacy or engineering, but that year you failed to get admission because of stiff competition, either in that faculty or in that university. Do you know that as it is now, that result is already going to be thrown away into the dustbin? You have to go and sit down. And there is no certainty.
You know the reason why I'm raising this issue,
Let me explain.
Is because I am trying to have an intellectual conversation. Because, I'm speaking with an intellectual.
No, I'm a student.
So the reason why I'm asking this is that we, in our profession, we've decided this year, this election year, that we will not take manifestos on the face value.
No.
We will scrutinize.
Absolutely.
We will ask how. Because in the past, we've listened for politicians to speak on what they want to do without questioning them properly. But this time around, it's going to be different. And so I am not against your manifesto. I'm asking how you want to make it happen. Now, if Nigeria does not have the money, the fact remains is that where would you get the money? For example, you also said you are not going to create new schools, new tertiary institutions.
In the first instance, yes.
But you are going to rehabilitate and upgrade the
facilities.
That is what you've said in your manifesto.
Absolutely, yes.
The question is, you heard what ASU, the fight, for almost 8 months, ASU was on strike. Where is the money coming from?
I'm saying, unless I have to repeat myself, I said that at any given time, government has its ways of solving problems. I want to also tell you, before I came to this level, I was part of ASU. And I knew the problems. Over 30 years ago. And we thought that the universities were collapsing at that time. And let me tell you this. When we went to the negotiation table, and we said we needed money for the universities, the first question they said, how will you get money since you're asking for in billions at that time? At that time, we gave them some options. And one of them, they have not used it up to now. Was that we said, since the federal government has moved to Abuja, all the property, for example, in Lagos, they should be consolidated under an education trust fund. So that they should now be managed by a trust fund, and they rehabilitated and given out, and then the process should be shared to the universities and tertiary institutions. Then we are the people also who suggested that companies and business be recruiting Nigerians who have graduated in this country, but they are not adding any value to our graduates. We say that it's immoral for them to be waiting for a student to graduate, for them to recruit high-quality students, and then without them adding anything. That is why we said, okay, we must tax these companies. And for negotiation position, we were asking 10%. It was later graduated to 5% or whatever. And the initial agreement in the country, in all the wards. Now, in every local government, you're talking about almost 40 or more classrooms. But the point here is that the what do you call it? The National Private Education Board, okay, is also now focused attention only on books and other similar things. What this presidential secretary say that Senator Konkoso said that no, we should focus on building the classroom first with that money.
All right.
And then let the state government also fund the books project, because books are also very important.
There are several aspects of this. I spent some good 30 minutes to peruse this, and I have my questions. But I'm very certain that over the weekend, we'll have more opportunity to interface with the presidential candidate.
Yes, it's very good.
The special program that is coming up on Channel Television for him to be able to explain more on this. But on the final note, and just in about 30, 40 seconds, if you can tell me, why is your candidate, why do you think he's the best choice?
I think the moment now, Nigeria are looking for a credible candidate, a candidate can trust. And I don't want to use this platform to attack anybody. But today, if a presidential candidate will come out forward, and the first thing people ask is, what is his birthday? Where did he school? What are his records? Who is about his father? Who is his mother? Who is this? Who is that? People are asking basic questions which we all have crossed, me and you. But you are asking a presidential candidate to prove which schools he has attended, where is the certificate got, and you are doubting all this kind of thing. That's not got credibility. Then the kind of honesty is that we are talking about in a leader is that from the records, from what he has been done, even after leaving office, we have never had him any controversial issues. He has also maintained his level, and that his running mate, let's not forget, Bishop Isaac Oda, since his nomination as vice president of this party, nobody has written one line and say anything wrong about him. Because he's a trusted person.
So you are presenting credible candidates.
Of course. And
integrity,
that's
integrity
and trust.
All right.
And then we are also saying that these two people now, when you're selecting the vice president, we also are mindful of the sentiment of Nigerians. There is no way in a country as vast, as complex, and rich with vast population and the cultures, then you say only particular tradition is now represented in the leadership of this country, when the other will be sitting down watching television to hear what you are doing. It cannot work in this country anymore.
It's good to see you again, Prof, and having this conversation.
Thank you very much.
Sometimes when you are speaking to professors.
No, this is
interestingly
a student of politics.
A professor. Professor Alkali, thank you so much indeed. The national chairman of the NNPP. Thank you so much for coming, and I wish you the very best. I'll see you again in the weekend.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's time to serve you with your political roundup stories. And when we come back, there is another professor. The two professors are politicians this time around. That's the difference. But let me serve you with your political roundup stories.
The presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Bola Tinubu, alongside his running mate, Senator Kashim Shettima, have met with leaders of the business committees in Lagos. The event is intended to allow the APC flag bearers to speak to the business committees and captains of industries on the agenda. The chieftains of the APC and party leaders were equally present, as well as the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Elder statesman Chief Edwin Clark says President Buhari has breached Section 145 of the 1999 Constitution, which mandates him to transmit power to the Vice President by communicating his absence to the President of the Senate and Speaker of the House of Representatives. Speaking at a briefing in Abuja, the former Federal Commissioner for Information also berated the President for his lack of empathy towards Nigerians who have been affected by floods, wondering why the President is quick to condole with other countries on their tragedy but shows no concern for his own citizens.
For Mr. President to jet out to London, which he has been doing for over 3 times now, without handing over power to the Vice President, is illegal, it's unconstitutional.
Benue State Governor Samuel Otom says his people will respect the federal government's decision denying him the power to procure AK-47 rifles for members of the Community Volunteer Guards, citing constitutional grounds by the federal government. Governor Otom says his people should therefore possess all lawful weapons like Dane guns, pump action, bows and arrows and machete to defend themselves against terrorists.
Government have the final say? Yes. And I have accepted it. That one. That is why we will have to make effective use of what we have.
Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike says the state is yet to decide who it will support for the 2023 presidential election. Speaking during the inauguration of 319 ward and 32 constituency liaison officers in the government house, Port Harcourt, Governor Wike notes that Rivers State is yet to determine who to vote for in the presidential election. The governor says he's confident that the Rivers PDP governorship candidate, all House of Representatives, Senate and House of Assembly candidates would win in the 2023 elections.
Appointments of this nature are not they are full time, so you can't. So some of you are party chairman, stop being greedy. Ethiopia, only one man.
The governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in Lagos State, Mr. Jide Adediran, has debunked claims of the 5,000 members of the Jandor Lagos for Lagos movement who recently defected to the All Progressive Congress in the state. Addressing journalists in Lagos, Mr. Adediran described the claim by the state deputy governor Bafemi Hamzat and other stakeholders of the APC that he received some defectors from his camp on Thursday as a plot to deceive members of the public.
If somebody is the candidate, especially from our group, it should be a non-name.
A former Minister of Police Affairs and chieftain of the People's Democratic Party in Yobe State, Adamu Maina Waziri, is expressing concern over the characters of some government officials in Yobe State for allegedly removing the flags of the PDP. Addressing officials in Damaturu during the inauguration of the 49-man National Campaign Council to convert votes for Atiku Abubakar for president, Mr. Waziri calls for a level playing ground for all political parties in the state as enshrined in the Constitution.
We have a right to coexist as a political party in the Nigerian political scene.
More groups are beginning to lend their voices to the call on Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to reorder the sequence of the 2023 general elections and allow state elections to hold before the national elections. This time around, members of the Citizen Center for Elections Monitoring say such reordering is the panacea to the violence of do-or-die politics that often trails the presidential elections in Nigeria.
We are therefore appealing to INEC to commence the forthcoming 2023 general elections with the state governorship and legislative polls. This will go a long way in ensuring smooth elections and seamless transition, as well as protecting the homeland security.
A coalition of support groups for the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Bola Tinubu, has commenced community mobilization of voters for the ruling party's candidates. The group, which started the mobilization in Kuje, a suburb of the Federal Capital Territory, vows to move to all communities in the nation's capital and ensure that the FCT delivers their votes for the APC presidential candidates.
So we are very confident. It's a man we can trust because he has the capability. You know, he's not giving talent for us in this country.
The Director of Strategy Communications of the People's Democratic Party presidential campaign, Chief Dele Momodu, has been speaking about the trip of the party's candidate, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, to the United States and the plans the candidate has to impact on the economy if elected president next February. Chief Momodu was addressing journalists today in Abuja.
And when we return, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, says he's made a deal with 5 PDP governors. We'll find out the details. Professor Pat Otomi will be joining me right after now. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
In the heart of Abuja, at the center of the nation, arises a new exclusive community, a project of Paulton Morgan Holdings. From the developers of Grenadines Resort, Katampe, one of Nigeria's finest residential communities, we are excited to share our newest residential community, Rockhampton, by Grenadines Homes, a blend of nature, innovation, and functionality, put together to make an exquisite mountainside community. Situated in Katampe Extension, with easy access to town, proximity to major landmarks, and other recreational facilities like the IBB Golf Course, Rockhampton offers investors an opportunity to get high returns on their real estate investments. Take advantage of the introductory price and book a unit today with just 10% down payment.
That is a photograph of the second Niger bridge, taken about 2 weeks ago at night. So the bridge itself is finished. For those who are concerned about that, it's finished. What remains is the link road. There's a 4-kilometer link road on the Asada side. Right now, our dredger is in place. We have to build the road by reclaiming sand. So flood has slowed us down there at the moment, so we're waiting for the water to recede. On the Onitsha side, there's a 7-kilometer road that links this bridge and the Onitsha Owerri interchange. The last time I visited, we had covered about 5 kilometers out of the 7 asphalted. So we're still
But you know what? I never stayed down. I remained unstoppable. In fact, I always came back better, dribbling in an unstoppable way, assisting goals and scoring goals. No one could stop me, not even malaria, when mosquito bites. Now you too can be unstoppable if you use Lonat against malaria.
Lonat, a combination of Artemether and lumefantrine. Lonat, be unstoppable.
It's not just any door. It's new Watson doors, made from nature's finest and refined elements. A door that opens up to the beauty of your home and office space. Elegance, luxury, and class. New Watson Doors Industries Limited.
For staying with us. Now, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, says he has, with him, aggrieved governors of the People's Democratic Party, at least 5 of them, which includes a common interest that they have in finding a better Nigeria for all citizens at a time where the country is facing escalating security threat, humanitarian crisis, and the lack of leadership on the part of the ruling All Progressives Congress. He was saying all of this in Makurdi, the capital of Benue State, when he visited Governor Samuel Ortom. Take a listen to Mr. Peter Obi.
I can tell you the only deal I have with them is that they are passionate for a better Nigeria. That's the only deal. Everybody wants Nigeria to survive now. Everybody, because at the end of the day, if it collapses, anarchy consumes everybody. You wouldn't see about party. If they throw a bomb now here, you won't know who is governor, who is get one. So it is better we save Nigeria, because if it happens, nobody knows who will be affected.
The Labour Party, well, that's the presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, earlier today in Makurdi. But the Labour Party was at the verge of releasing its manifesto officially, which the candidate says it will be released by him. And the candidate said the one that was earlier posted on the website of the party had to be reworked, and a few changes had to be made, and they will soon finalize. Let's talk about some of these issues. The Labour Party, the manifesto, the Peter Obi, the agenda or the alliance with some PDP governors, and what this means ahead in the race of the 2023. Let's speak with a chieftain of the Labour Party, Professor Patutoni. He joins us live here in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, Prof, for coming.
Great pleasure.
You heard my conversation with Professor Alkali, and we've made up our minds to be able to answer the question on how. You know, not only what you want to do, but how, because over the years it's been, we want to do this, but people have not answered critical question on how it's going to be done. Tonight, your party has not released its manifesto. We saw an abridged version and were unofficial versions. When do you think that will be ready?
The manifesto is more or less ready. The only reason it has not been formally released is the intensity of the campaigns have taken away the principal tour in the country. The team that has worked on this and spent literally weeks, on this, has briefed him a couple of times, one of which was just before he went to the Lagos Chamber of Commerce, but needs a thorough work down with him because he has to own it. It's his document. It's not what some people put together. He put down a template that they worked on and have given life to, but hopefully this weekend or so, there'll be a sit down with him and this team, and after that, there'll be a document that is good and ready to go out with his imprimatur.
Okay, great. So perhaps before the end of the week?
It could be weekend, depending on the campaign schedule, and by next week, I'm sure it will be ready. But there are also the ceremonials around making such a thing available. So there can be a choice of a date and a time to get real value out of the unveiling of that document.
I know you probably have heard the criticism of your candidate, of your party, that it takes you a bit of a time to be able to put yourself together. First and foremost, when you release, it took you time to release the list of the Presidential Campaign Council. When you did, you make an amendment, you make a readjustment. Now there's this dilly-dallying from your critics. I mean, that's what your critics are saying, that you went forward, there was a release and the manifesto. And I mean, what is going on? How do you allay the fears of your followers and your supporters that the fact that things are tightly put together, or there is a proper administration of the campaign and the party?
Well, I think it is a natural process to filter things you're building. Don't forget, these other groups have been around for yonks, and you're building. You've got all new people who've come together to realize a goal for the country. Nigeria faces an existential challenge, and there was a need to rescue the ship of state. The process of rescue involves so many different parties. In fact, tomorrow I will be, presenting another part of this process. The approach, the structure that we take, I like to describe, forget that I'm an organization person, as organic bulb of complex redundancy. What does this mean? Anybody who has an idea of organizational behavior, you take an onion. Onion is a classic bulb. You peel off, and you peel off, and you get to another layer. And so there are several layers in this process. And people feel one way or another about how these layers flow together. And so you've got to have iterations of positions around how an organic bulb, which is designed
to be redundant and complex so that you can have a fail-safe system. A classic example of complex redundancy is in aviation. When you design a Boeing jet, okay, you have 3 fallbacks. Engineers know that the first fallback you never quite get to using for some, like maybe less than 1% of the time, but you have a second fallback and you have a third fallback because engineering is designed for safety. If you go to political science and you look at complex redundancy, classic example offered by an American political scientist called Ron Wildavsky back in the 70s, the budget process. Why does a bill go into the House on banking? And the House reads it, walks through it, sends it to the Finance Committee, they walk through it, then they send down to the Banking Subcommittee, then the Banking Subcommittee holds public hearings, and then it goes all the way back. That process is called complex redundancy because you want it to be fail-safe, because you're going to discover challenges, you're going to correct, you're going to make sure that what comes out is foolproof. That's the same process.
So that's what you're building.
Absolutely.
That's what you're having.
Absolutely.
So this Labour Party is going to go, it's in the long haul.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean that even if your candidate does not win, you are not abandoning the ship.
Not at all. Let me remind you how this process evolved. A number of people took a look at Nigeria, realized the country isn't going to make it long the way it's being run. Very clear. The whole world knows this. In many places, we're the laughingstock of the world with our resources, with our endowments, and all of that. And the question is, how do we save this ship of state from collapsing? And we came out in different groups. One was Rescue Nigeria Project, focusing on how do you create a sense of a collegial leadership where people who have the competence, capacity, and commitment, real patriots, get together in a collegial way, offer the country a new direction. So the leadership challenge was what Rescue Nigeria Project focused on. I was on the steering committee. I'm on the steering committee. And another group came. I was looking for how you can build a coalition of interests, political parties, civil society, social movements, and all of those. Now, at a point we then said, if everybody could come together, recognizing that what matters is saving Nigeria, we could have a big tent that essentially holds everybody. And this big tent is the basis of this organic ball.
Yeah.
And the Labour Party flowed into it. Mm-hmm. The Labour movement itself flowed into it. And what we are certain about is that given the way we are evolving things, this is going to be a disruption like has never been seen in this country.
So,
because people are going to look at traditional ways, and they're going to be shocked.
You know,
by
the criticism,
outcomes.
Those who have done the permutation that say, look, the Labour Party will play a major role, will go far. But as far as the political dynamics of Nigeria is concerned, that they may not be able to get what they want immediately. And those are of the school of thought.
Those people have missed the trends in Africa.
Just a moment.
Yes.
Those are one of the school of thought that said Peter Obi will go far, will decimate a lot of grounds that the traditional political parties have held sway. And those who are of the school of thought that said, look, Peter Obi, in fact, will win. The margin may not be so much, but he will win. And the polls have supported those school of thought.
Yeah.
I mean, so the question is, for those who say they are realists and that based on the dynamics, Labour Party may not win. What do you have to say to that?
Look at what's happening in Africa. Look at all the recent elections. You go to Malawi, go to Zambia, go to Kenya, go to Botswana. All the people that were ridiculed as internet champions won. All the social media, they're just social media people, all of them won.
So there's a way.
Africans are fed up with governments that don't work, with this obsessive self-love that politicians have, and they do this trading off in transactions for their self-interest, forgetting the people. And this is what has kept a country like Nigeria below par. And Africans, the youth of Africa, are saying, this cannot continue. They proved it in Kenya, they proved it in Malawi, they're going to prove it in Nigeria.
And I regret to take you, because the last interview, I had to drag you into the matter of your friend. But again, somehow it's coming to the fray. I find it very,
taken long before Peter Obi showed up. And that is true. Okay? And the fact that a candidate goes to an elder and he blesses him is normal. If I go to Pastor Rochi, he will bless me. So I'm not going to get into who bless who.
Will Mr. Peter Obi go to Pastor Rochi?
He can go if the time.
Because the word out there was that the blessings that Peter Obi got from the Chief Adebanjo-led Afenifere was not transmitted to Professor Oranti, who is the substantive leader of Afenifere, that Pa Adebanjo was holding sway in confidence from Professor Oranti.
You know, I don't want to get into red herrings that don't really amount to much. What we're talking about is that a group of people take a very principle-centered position. And Pa Adebanjo did not go to anoint, to bless. What happened was that the leaders of the South-South, with Pa Edwin Clark, the leaders of the North-Central, the leaders of the Southeast, and Afenifere representing the Southwest, met. I was privileged to be at that meeting. It was to be hosted by Pa Clark, but he was in a state of mourning, having lost his brother. And that meeting was hosted by Pa Ayo Adebanjo at the request of Chief Edwin Clark. And at that meeting, these ethnic nationality groups said, this is the principle that we stand on, we will go forward. That's their position. I like to take it that it was based on some fundamental principles of decency, fairness, and a certain moral compass. I am not familiar with or interested in internal dynamics of Afenifere and all of that. Those things are generated by people who still want to divide Nigeria. What is at stake is that our country is dying. And the young people of Nigeria want to disrupt this system that leads to only one thing, state capture. State capture in which politicians obsessed with love of self take the common good and make theirs.
Prof, I regret that. I mean, I wish I had access to my to the board, to the electronic board there, where I would have been able to show you the Nigerian political map and how historically elections are won and lost.
And that's where you're losing it. You're basing your thinking on history when the world has moved from history.
But politics,
and I give you,
Prof,
Africa.
I mean, interestingly,
it's science.
You're a scholar in that respect.
Yes.
And we know that history is also part of science. And
absolutely.
The reasons why you factor history into your science.
That's why you're looking at the history of Kenya. You're looking at the history of Malawi. You're looking at the history of Zambia. Look, the population of Nigeria, the median age is 18. And this group of people constitute by far the population. People of my ilk are less than 6% of the population. We're the ones still possessed with, this person said, my grandfather said, look, I had the privilege of hosting a meeting, 2 meetings actually in my home years ago, of a group given life by Reverend Laddie Thompson. The movement was Yigba. He was trying to bring alive Chief Obafemi Awolowo's charge to Professor Akintoye, who was then Secretary of UPN, and Chief Olaniwun Ajayi. You guys must fix this thing between the Southeast and Southwest. Because unless you fix it, you guys are going to be slaves in Nigeria. That charge, somebody approached me to host the meeting. I hosted it. All the major serious Yoruba leaders were there, including Pa Adebanjo, Professor Akintoye, and down the line, many of them. The Igbo ones were there. The generals, Lubisekano, Ikenwachuku, Professor Biozo, all of them. And the point that was being made was that this thing is a red herring. Now, instead of people who are true nationalists recognizing that what Nigeria is owed today is unity and security, thinking as statesmen, they are trying to play the politics of division because of personal ambition. I think history will judge very harshly.
Two quick questions,
like
Prof.
that.
And I just have 60 seconds to close. The first being the question I was going to ask you, the fact that the PDP, some leaders of the PDP think Peter Obi would have held a lot of the votes that would have gone to the PDP traditionally, historically. I mean, the Southeast and some part of the South. The first question I'd like to ask you before we close, which part of the two questions, is what strategy are you hoping to use in turning around what has become the historical trend of voting in Nigeria, which may not be in the favor of Mr. Peter Obi? Just quickly.
What is that historical trend?
I mean, the trend of how political parties have held sway and what traditionally the kind of votes that have been apportioned.
You are becoming
becoming
an anachronism. You are missing the proof of history.
In America, in the UK, there are traditional states that go for political parties, where political parties are held. So, for example, the last election, interestingly, the state like Wisconsin was taken by the party that has never held it in years. So the question is, what strategy? No, I'm saying that historically, things might change. But I'm asking, what strategy do you have
we have
to turn things around?
That is so clear that we want. Look, as you know, elections in Nigeria have been producing lower and lower turnouts year on year, even though population is growing. Why is that so? Traditionally, most of those votes came from rigging. Increasingly, electoral laws make it more difficult to do those things. Young people who typically say, let them do what they want to do, have said, enough is enough. We can't jack back. We will stay here and save our country. And those young people constitute a huge part of the population. So the strategy is to make those young people not just voters, but the protectors of the vote. And we have history. Professor Alkali just left here. In Kano, 2007, go and check what happened. A man without money, a man who came as a civil servant, took on a powerful incumbent governor because the youth of the state said, go. And they protected the vote, and he beat the incumbent.
I won't be able to ask you the last question because we are totally out of time. But I enjoy having this debate and conversation with you. You are an academic in political economics, but I am a practical man on the field. Right?
Are you kidding me? I am on the ground. I am a street boy.
The dynamics are different. But it's interesting. But you think that this election will shock the traditional politics?
Absolutely, out of their wits. And the way we are organizing it is such that they won't understand what hit them. Because they will go the traditional way and they will see why disruption and technology is what has defined our world.
We need to leave it there. Else you give some money for the extra.
My friend Christensen, who is the ultimate father of disruptions, in his grave will be smiling as we're having this conversation because Nigeria is about to be disrupted.
Prof, I'll have to send you an invoice for the extra seconds that you spent. But thank you so much indeed, Prof. It's good to see you again. Thank you so much indeed. Professor Patu told me, a chieftain of the Labour Party. Well, that's our show for tonight, everyone. It doesn't look like I should not leave because this conversation sometimes gets very interesting. But I'll see you again tomorrow at 7 p.m. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I'm Sean Akimale. God bless Nigeria.
In the game of life, one important thing can increase your chance of success. Confidence. Confidence is the game changer.
Confidence? Where do I find that, Jose?
First rule, you need a goal.
I don't play soccer.
Not that kind of goal. What do you want from life?
Happiness.
Success.
Checkmate.
Less worries.
Next, you need a strategy.
I got you. It's like a game plan.
Exactly. Put in the work and stick to it. Nothing pays better. Trust me.
No.
Then you need to be patient.
How patient?
More patient, success cannot be hurried. And most important of all, you need the right team behind you. Do all these things and you will have the financial confidence to achieve anything.
Anything?
And everything, my friend.
One Expert. Reliable bookmaker with high odds. And bonuses for every taste. One Expert. Easy use, easy win.
Hello and welcome to News Track on Channels Television. I'm Kayode Okikilu. Our top stories at this hour. We begin with politics. As a presidential flag bearer of the All Progressives Congress APC, Chief Bola Tinubu took his campaign meetings to another level today as he met with captains of industry and other private sector key players in Lagos to present his action plan. At that event, he promised that his administration would revive Nigeria's dead industry if he's elected in 2023. Business leaders at the event include President of Dangote Group, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, chief executives of banks, including G. Movia, Tony Elumelu, Iboji Agimokwede, Herbert Wigwe, among others. The meeting gave the APC candidate an opportunity to give a breakdown of some of his policy plans for the nation.
We commend the work of a prior administration, especially the present government.